A reading from the most sacred of Buddhist texts of these words of the Buddha, the Pali Canon. Speak only the speech that neither torments self nor does harm to others. That speech is truly well spoken. Speak only endearing speech, speech that is welcomed. Speech, when it brings no evil to others, is pleasant. Truth, indeed, is deathless speech. This is an ancient principle. The goal and the Dhamma, so say the calm, are firmly established on truth. The speech the awakened one speaks for attaining unbiding rest, for making an end to the mass of stress. That is a speech unexcelled. A reading from the wisdom literature, Proverbs. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Like a gold ring or an ornament of gold is a wise rebuke to a listening ear. May we be mindful of the Spirit who speaks here and now.
Thanks be to God. So my favorite rock band is Queen. And last week, Youth Sunday was like a beautiful display of hope and energy. It reminded me of when Queen played at the Live Aid concert in 1985. And kind of feel sorry for David Bowie, who had to follow Queen on stage. And that's how I feel today, because the youth just totally rocked it out last week, and following them, tough act to follow. I want to thank all of you who have invested in our youth, parents, Sunday school teachers, and all of you who are part of the community of faith in just helping mentor our youth. I really do love our youth, one, because they're awesome, and two, because I feel young when I hang out with them. At least mentally I feel young. Physically, I don't hang with them so well, as evidenced when I tried to play gaga ball with them a couple hours on a youth trip a couple of years ago. So today, got your bulletin. Sermon title, Right Speech, Buddha, Jesus, MGK, and Gollum. We continue our sermon series on the Eightfold Path of Buddhism. Maybe you remember this talks about where we are each Sunday. Today is right speech. And I can almost hear someone thinking, hey, this is a Christian church, an American Methodist church. Why are we talking about Buddhism? And I think that's a good question. And I offer this. Because what if the story of Christianity that we followed since the religion of the Roman Empire misunderstood the teachings of Jesus? And there's this great quote that I heard that really sums up Christianity. See, Jesus started a movement, and when that movement went to Greece, it became a philosophy known as Christianity. When it moved to Italy, it became an institution. When it went to Europe, it became a culture. And when Christianity came to the United States, it became an enterprise. Possibly the way we have learned Christianity is not what Christ intended. When the Roman Emperor Constantine designates Christianity as the religion of the Roman Empire to unify Christianity, he calls together a group of bishops to come up with a unification plan. Maybe they called it the One Church Plan, but they wanted to unify a divided empire. That plan came out of the Council of Nicaea, and it was to bring unity to the church with a capital C. All right, so I still haven't really answered the question, why are we talking about Buddhism? So for me, Buddhism kind of separates this veil of rewritten Christian teaching that originated when Constantine kind of rewrote the way the doctrines and the beliefs of Christianity were formed. And that sets Christianity on a trajectory based on actions and not really based on a path or a way of life. And the parallels between the teachings of Buddha and Christ are quite remarkable, because both found their message not on judgment or sin or righteousness, but on love and compassion. But the most similar parallel between Jesus and the Buddha, they were teachers of wisdom. Now, Buddhist monk Jack Kornfield and Marcus Borg write in their book, Jesus and Buddha, the parallel sayings, if we could read, listen, take to heart, and enact even one verse from these teachings, it would have the power to illuminate our hearts, free us from confusion, and transform our lives. But maybe skepticism still lingers among us. Buddhism, really? Fourth largest religion. Originated in India 600 years before Christ even is born. What possible application can we gain from Buddhism in this 21st postmodern America? So Buddhism is more than a religion, it's a way of life. Christianity was meant to be a way of life, not a set of doctrines and creeds determining who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. And I believe that right speech is everything. That's where it starts. Now, right may not be the best term, because right, sometimes in our mind we go to dualistic thinking where we think of right and wrong. But when I use the word right, and when we use the word right in our eightfold path, right really is meant to designate that which brings joy and happiness and uplifts other people. And so the words that we heard from the Buddha this morning speak only the speech that neither torments self nor does harm to others, is quite timeless. Religion has, in my opinion, really failed at right speech when it comes to women, when it comes to people whose skin color isn't white, and when it comes to the LGBTQ community. Now, I have shared with you that Queen is my favorite rock group, but Friday night, I had the opportunity to hear one of my other favorite rock groups. Anybody know what band that is? Panic at the Disco, yes. So it was an awesome concert, brilliance upon brilliance. And one of the reasons why I am quite tired this morning, because I stayed up late and I'm still excited from the concert. But anyway, when we arrived at our seats, and it was at the CHI building, I call it the CHI building, or the Quest Center Central Lake, we arrived there and we found hearts on our seats, much like you all found hearts on your seats. Thank you, youth, for doing that. And it reads, "Hold and shine through your phone lens when you hear the song Girls, Girls, Boys." And that song, really, the thesis of it is that love is not a choice. And so when the song came on, everyone held up their cell phones, put this through, and I was in a section, we had red, and there was the sections that had orange and the colors of the rainbow, yellow and blue and indigo and violet, and it looked like this giant rainbow. And I thought, that's really cool. That would be awesome. Why don't we do that in worship? But then I thought, probably won't get as dark in here as it did in the arena. My thesis in seminary involved the perceptive ways that musicians construct words, the lyrics to their songs. Because it's amazing, if you've ever been to a concert, you have 15,000 people standing, singing the same words. The unity there, to me, is just beautiful. I think musicians have a way of putting into words what they hear others saying, what they see and feel others expressing. I believe that one of our deepest needs is to be heard, but so little listening happens anymore. That's why I think Youth Sunday is so vital to our faith. We have to listen to our youth. That's why I think Easter falling on Earth Sunday is so profound, because we have to listen to creation. If you think about all the conflicts, whether it be in your family, whether it be in the church or the community, in Omaha, in our nation, in the world, miscommunication is really at the basis of so much of those conflicts. Those in poverty, their voices are drowned out by those in greed. Children are punished before they're even asked, "What's wrong?" Fear shadows any pursuit of seeking truth. I believe we've institutionalized equality. We've institutionalized education. We've institutionalized speech. And we have institutionalized Christ. That's why I think the teaching of Christ through the lens of Buddhism can be very important. To hear Christ as a teacher of wisdom, not morality. I can get very tunnel vision when it comes to morality, a little bit judgmental when it comes to right speech, as I struggle with the moralistic aspect of speech, illustrated by a very short-sighted decision I made in seminary. Ethics is a required course in seminary, and I had the opportunity to take class from America's greatest theologian, according to Time magazine, from a professor whose books literally occupy a whole shelf in my office. And why didn't I take his class? Why didn't I take Stanley Hauerwas's class? Because he uses profanity in his lectures. I was still emerging out of my fundamental stage of theology when I was reading the Bible literally, and that to me meant you don't use profanity. That was not right speech. Well, meanwhile, while I was in seminary, my Greek professor, Dr. Levinson, loved him. He taught us how to conjugate verbs to the tunes of Louie, Louie, and We Will Rock You. We had worship every day in seminary, and Dr. Levinson was a preacher. And he gave a sermon I'll never forget, and it was based on the text that we heard this morning from the wisdom literature of Proverbs. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver, like a gold ring or an ornament of gold is a wise rebuke to a listening ear. Dr. Levinson then went on to talk about compassion, and that while we were sitting there, just in a few minutes, over 200 children had been killed in Congo. And then he uttered in his sermon a really bad word, a wash your mouth out with Lifebuoy soap word. And he then commented that more people gasped out loud at his use of profanity than hearing the shocking number of children killed in the Congo. And I was guilty. I was more shocked at his swear word than I was at thinking about that. While I was sitting safely in the confines of that chapel, children were being killed in the Congo. And it was a wise rebuke to my listening ear. In his book, The Heart of the Buddha's Teaching, Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, nominated by Martin Luther King Jr. in 1967 for a Nobel Peace Prize, writes, "Deep listening is the foundation of right speech. If we cannot listen mindfully, we cannot practice right speech, no matter what we say. It will not be mindful because we'll be speaking only our own ideas and not in response to the other person." So back to the sermon title. Anyone know what MGK is an abbreviation for? All right. Well, when I know I need to listen, I confess it's not the words of Jesus or the Buddha, but the words to a song. It was the main song Thursday night NFL. See, this is me checking the block that you have to be contextual. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday, so I'm mentioning the NFL in my sermon here. But anyway, rapper Machine Gun Kelly, so named because of his rapid use of words, wrote a beautiful song. The chorus goes, "I hear voices in the air. I hear them loud and clear, telling me to listen. Whispers in my ear, nothing can compare. I just want to listen." Right speech involves listening, and it also involves restraint. Asking oneself, is what I'm about to say, is it true? Is it kind? Is it even necessary? And that takes great self-awareness. And I believe the only way one can truly have self-awareness is through meditation. Now, the concept of meditative speaking has been very critical for me in our race relation dialogue. My perspective is shaped in a system where the racial ideology that dominates our country rationalizes racial hierarchies as a result of some sort of genetic giving or individual effort or talent. And so when I'm involved in cultural discussions, I have to deconstruct my perspective and really think about what I say before I say something. That is the essence of right speech. Oh, but my mind, it rapid fires thoughts constantly. Concepts I want to communicate, and then I find myself in what I refer to as Gollum mode, going back to the scripture or the sermon title, Gollum. So, Gollum, fictional character in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I'm driving to work, usually north on 680, and if you've ever done this during a busy time, if you're in the right lane wanting to go off to Dodge, inevitably someone will rein 2 or 3 lanes over and cut you off. And then this is where I have a problem with right speech. And I go into Gollum mode. Nasty Omaha drivers. They should be pulled over by the police. Oh no, we should pray for them. No, bad drivers don't deserve prayer. Everybody deserves prayer. No, not bad Omaha drivers. They probably had to go to the hospital. No, they're just being idiots. Oh, we should pray for them. No, they don't deserve prayer. But we have to pray for everyone. No, we don't have to pray for everyone. All right, do not commit me. If you know who Gollum is, you will understand. So, it's turmoil. It's a struggle in my mind, this concept of right speech. It comes from a wellspring of dualism that we are raised from the time we enter a classroom. Big, small, short, tall. And so when we hear the word right speech, we categorize it, and I personally tend not to use profanity. To be honest, it's mainly because if I use profanity in everyday speech, I'm afraid I might say something I regret in a sermon. The English language has some vernacular that I have a problem with, mainly in relationship to the third commandment, which is to not take the Lord's name in vain. My soul hurts when I hear someone combine the use of God with the use of the word damn. And all this goes probably back to my upbringing as the scripture is literal and not as a human response to God, but that's a completely different sermon. What I am saying, though, is that the Ten Commandments and the interpretations of the Bible, when they do not pass the litmus test of right speech, speech that uplifts people, speech that is encouraging, speech that brings joy and happiness, then possibly that interpretation is not what God would intend or what Christ would have intended. So I hope something in all of this has made sense, because honestly I really grapple with right speech, illustrated by my struggle with my favorite Panic at the Disco song titled Miss Jackson. I love the beat and the combination of notes. I have it in my mind right now. I'm pumped up and excited. But the song repeatedly uses the phrase that I believe takes the Lord's name in vain. And so I actually used GarageBand to edit out the phrase so I can faithfully, as a Christian, listen to the song and not violate my own rationalization that it somehow violates right speech. If you are ever caught in the tentacles of literal interpretation of Scripture, you can understand my struggle. So Friday night, while enjoying the concert, I wondered what the Buddha and Jesus would have thought. I know that MGK, Machine Gun Kelly, he would have just rocked out that night. Gollum, he would have either invaded the snack bar or he would have been after the precious gold microphone that the lead singer was using. The concert really was beautiful. It brought unity, and I hope and pray that the church with the big C, will think about the way it brings unity among its people. May the church bring unity as Queen did during that Live Aid concert, and may the church bring unity as I believe the youth did last Sunday. Shalom, salam, and peace be with you.